I will be reviewing the film Belle, and I saw that recently in theaters. So it's about this girl named Suzu, and she's an ordinary person living in the countryside, and she's dealing with the loss of her mother. And she likes singing, but because of her mother's death, she can't do that anymore, somehow. Her friend sends her an invite to the U, which is this online world, and she quickly becomes a famous singer named Belle. But during one of her concerts, there's this beast called the Dragon who breaks in and does a bunch of violent stuff in there, but somehow Belle is interested in him. And so is this vigilante group, so they both do their own research. Belle becomes closer to the dragon. There's this hinted romantic interest, and there's a raid on the dragon's castle. It's kind of confusing, but the dragon basically saves Belle. And she suddenly discovers who the beast is, and it's this kid in the city named Kay. And she discovers Kay during one of his live streams, and it turns out that Kay's father has been abusing him. And Kay distrusts Belle at first, but then Belle holds a concert in the U to get Kay to trust her, and that somehow works. And she decides to go save him IRL from his father, and she finds Kay randomly on a street, and she protects him from his father, and finally discovers her true self and can deal with the trauma from the death of her mother. In my opinion, the movie was far too ambitious. They were juggling way too many plot points at once. There were things about the Beast, the Vigilante Group, the U, the real world romance going on, the U romance going on. It was just far too much to understand. The ending also felt far too rushed and confusing. The K ending felt really convenient, and in my opinion, it's a disservice to people who suffer from trauma from the loss of family members. The way that Belle overcame her trauma was really unrealistic. She just held a concert and somehow became herself. I also had a problem with the idea of the U. It just felt really unrefined and underdeveloped. It felt as if it existed simply for the sake of plot, and I think it was an interesting idea that could have been developed further. I also had a problem with the thematic message of the film. As I said earlier, the film juggled too many ideas at once, and as a result, the film suffers from a lack of a clear message. It seemed as if it were revolving around the ideas of anti-abuse, being yourself, and growing up. The most I could kind of extrapolate from the film was the nature of humanity and technology. There's kind of this duality to humanity when it comes to technology. There's your online self and your real world self, and self-acceptance in this modern age comes from when you can merge the two. That's not to say I completely hated the movie. I thought that the studio did a wonderful job with the art and animation. It just felt really fluid. I also really liked the merging of CGI and traditional anime art. I thought it was just really interesting, and that's why I stayed in the theater to watch it, just to see the art. I also really love the soundtrack. Kaho Nakamura, the main voice actress and singer for Belle, is really talented, and she did a great job. I recommend checking out some of her albums. They're fantastic. Unfortunately, these pros do not make the film recommendable at all. I really do not understand how it got a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes. I think it was the reviews were botted or something, but I would give it a 4 out of 10.